Do we live our daily lives struggling to cover up and protect the seemingly sinister properties of our dark secrets? I'd say so. Human beings wear a lot of masks daily because they possess qualities that may be considered as both socially unacceptable and morally unethical. Qualities that the social norms and the laws of civilization will claim to be unfit and dangerous to the serenity of societal living. Qualities that these powerful people also possess but refuse to admit to make them appear pure and righteous to not jeopardize their own reputation. But behind closed doors and the comforting walls of their own home, they release those dark qualities without hesitancy, as nobody is watching them speak about or perform their most wicked and disturbing conducts. We are always told to embrace and showcase the virtuous and upright qualities of our psyche, like the ability to love and empathize, and to reject and repress our malicious and ill-natured qualities from ever surfacing and wreaking havoc towards the circumstances around us. Because the world told us that they should not exist, and yet what we resist will always persist. No matter the masks that we wear in public, there will always be times where we both subtly and inadvertently reveal our dark side qualities because they are and will always be a part of us. Violence, greed, lust, deception, vengeance, narcissism. These dark and sinister qualities are one with us, and they have both close and selfish relations to one another, the Mr. Hyde to our Dr. Jekyll. We all possess the capability and capacity to perform these selfish, hostile deeds. And you know what will trigger and cause these dark qualities of ours to go unleashed and uncontrollable? It's their lack of expression and demonstration, and/or being overly and unambiguously expressed or demonstrated. For most of us and our dark qualities, it's usually the former. All strong or significant thoughts and emotions are meant to be expressed in some form of way to instinctually satiate their nature to convey. Failure to do so will result in the slow but sure buildup of neurotic and eventually psychotic attributes, as those thoughts and emotions will start to violently revolt against one another and disorganize the structure of our psychological order. That is why you always experience a profound amount of stress, anxiety, and agitation whenever you can't or are unable to express what needs to be expressed, like the need for you to convey your unbridling frustration of waiting in a public line for too long, for example. We've discussed about aggression before on this channel and its profoundly close association with anger or rage when it remains unexpressed or withheld for too long. And we'd be right, because violence is what happens when the rage accumulates past breaking point and becomes unable to satiate itself through the right form of expressions. Utter destruction of properties, physical harm, and even semi-intentionally taking lives will be the penultimate result of a long, unexpressed aggression. Aggression is our need to convey strength, dominance, and control over our circumstances, and to achieve that, oftentimes it comes with us needing to impose our physical and mental will to assert our sense of supremacy and authority in order to satiate our need for self-esteem and self-actualization. That is why you must convey them through endeavors that allows you to impose your physical and mental will, like lifting heavy weights in the gym, learning martial arts, playing sports, hiking a mountain, or even getting proficient in a difficult, complicated, and strenuous skills like cooking or tailoring. Aggression is our natural need to conquer and bring difficult circumstances into our command and understanding to achieve a state of self-reliance or self-sufficiency. That is why you must convey them in such a way that is worthy and worthwhile for our physical and mental demands. The state of obsessive covetousness, extreme yearning, and impatience happens when greed gets both repressed and overly exercised, and we all know why. The narrative always portrays greed as a despicable quality that leads to nowhere but humiliation and regret. We all want more, and most of us want them fast, and through wanting them fast, we often rush into unanalyzed and uncalculated conclusions which will, more often than not, result in tremendous consequences. However, without greed, there will be no curiosities, no excitements, and no inspirations. The state of discontentment is what makes us human beings strive for more in life, bringing in unprecedented levels of progression and evolution within civilization. Discontentment is a natural gift. It's what tempts us and eventually incentivizes us to take risks to achieve and acquire more. And that is the word I want you gentlemen to pay attention to: risks. Because extreme and uncontrollable greed can stem from our lack of exhilarating anticipations through taking risks in life. The exhaustingly prolonged state of profound mundaneness, tediousness, and complacency generates an absence of physically and mentally stimulating sensations to satiate our discontentment, which will inevitably and instinctually brings us to seek those sensations in a hastily and thirstily manner, often out of sheer hopelessness. like a dehydrated man in a desert desperately seeking for water to drink. That is why the world of gambling gambling is designed to provoke our state of discontentment because they seemingly offer the satiation that we crave. But as we all know, in gambling, the house always wins in the end. On the other hand, greed can also stem from getting too deeply caught up in the momentous occasions of positive experiences or opportunities, leading to the similar rush of impatience for more as the desperation due to a lack of positive sensation. Greed is our natural need to continuously explore, experience, and acquire. That is why you must convey them in ways that continuously involves adequate risks and rewards to neutralize the restlessness that comes from extreme or prolonged monotonousness, like the adoption of a new and interesting endeavor in your routine and pursuing an extension or expansion of your current routine, like going or turning professional on a constructive hobby that you like. However, when you are riding a momentous occasion of positive streaks like winning, you have to learn not to bite off more than you can chew. Or in other words, you have to know when to stop and readjust, because your overwhelmingly escalated level of confidence or metaphysical reliance on luck wave can put you at a much less of an edge to remain objective and concentrated, making you more vulnerable to making mistakes due to carelessness and underestimation caused by overexcitement. That is why you must learn to set predetermined limits on your wave of momentum before it comes crashing and dragging you down along with it. Ravishment, sexual violation, and assault, basically our rapist tendencies, are a result of a sexually unsatiated and unfulfilled life. Back in the tribal age, rape is the grim result from men who are not sexually selected by women to protect and provide for them, and their lack of sex translates into a forceful and unconsensual action of sexual violations on women from another village they've successfully raided to satiate their sexual cravings. And today, it is not much different. Men who lack sexual experience in their daily lives for such a long time will accumulate an intense and dangerous level of sexual cravings, and it is only momentarily negated or neutralized by the presence and access of pornography and/or prostitution. For those men who lack sex on a regular basis due to our prolonged sexual frustration, we often look at women objectively to an extreme level, as there are no intentions for meaningful interaction to develop deep personal connections, only the intention to unleash our raw, visceral, and feral lust onto and into their bodies to explosively spread our seeds and release our sexual cravings. For modern men, the extreme fear and anxiety to get rejected and taking rejections too personally are the main cause for the massive buildup in the ravenousness of your frustrated eroticism. Sex or procreation is an essential need to be fulfilled for human beings because it is one of our main natural and instinctual purpose to exist besides eating, sleeping, and excreting our fecal matters. In order to express lust properly and carefully, you must firstly not be embarrassed or feel disgusted with your intentions and desires. We are all humans and we have our own unique set of sexual preferences and fetishes. Secondly, you must not hesitate or abort for too much and too long to express lust through your natural flirtatious tendencies in the presence of the opposite sex of your interest, in order to proceed ever so closer to fulfilling your desires in which your lust is instinctually pursuing. Regardless of whether you eventually consummate or not, it's all up to you, but the most important thing is to convey those growing sexual tension through gradual seductive invitations during the interaction. Let's not pretend that we've never done this to someone else, shall we? We've all been there and done that when it comes to deceiving others. Even when it comes to something small like an opinion or a needless matter. Because believe it or not, deception is actually one of the most important strong traits to have as a leader, because it's about being able to manipulate, seduce, and convince people as thoroughly as possible. The world of politics and social hierarchies all revolve around deceiving others and winning them over to your side. The extreme case of this dark quality going out of control usually does not come from a lack of expression, because deception is often utilized in normal social situations like preaching an opinion from a perspective and even in humorous, sarcastic, and nonsensical or comical interactions. But rather, its rebellious nature stems from too much utilization, exploitation, and getting away with too much of it without ever facing any form of repercussions, criticisms, and consequences, to the point where it becomes a normal part of your behavior or personality or character. Just like speeding on the highway and never getting a speeding ticket for doing it continuously for long periods of time. That is why highly deceptive people are usually extremely insistent when refused and extremely defiant when accused, and would always want to justify their claims regardless of what is true or what is not. Your lack of exercise or expressions in your deceptive capabilities, on the other hand, won't eventually result you in becoming highly deceptive, but rather the opposite. It gets you to become more ignorant and vulnerable to the selfish intentions of deceptive people. In order to utilize deception properly and less exploitatively, meaning for it to be beneficial to your own intentions as well as appealing or being harmless and even beneficial to others, you must learn to appeal to others' best interests first, then slowly align them towards your own best interests, making the interaction or negotiation a win-win situation. This is why learning how to sell is the best medium to exercise your deceptive capabilities. Always remember this, gentlemen. The best way to ask for help and making an offer to other people is to first figure out and understand what are their best interests and make sure that you can significantly fulfill them within your compensation and offer. If you gentlemen want an example of a cleverly deceptive and cunning leader who is exceptional in his ability to manipulate and negotiate, look no further than our very own Captain Jack Sparrow, as he was always able to find a way, even in harmful and life-threatening situations, to negotiate his survival while appealing to his enemy's best interest, even though in the end he basically lied to them all. Throughout the history of mankind, revenge or vengeance have been deeply ingrained in our social calibration, as it is our default instinctual response towards a wound caused by another individual, both physical and emotional. It is a defense mechanism against the anxieties towards survival, stimulated by the reactivation of memories involving major injuries and losses experienced earlier in the lifetime of a person, and driven by the desire to repair through neutralizing or eliminating the threats that caused the previous wounds. Vengeance comes from all individuals' own apparent degree of paradigm towards moral rationality and justice. This is why, if one's code of moral ethics hasn't been properly developed and solidified through the acquisition of further conscientious knowledge and teachings like religion, he would always submit to his natural instinct to relentlessly seek and achieve retribution instead of forgiveness. Vengeance is vividly similar and related to aggression, as they involve the accumulation of rage the longer you bottle it up. But the violence that resulted from accumulated vengeance is more saturated, directed, and passionately intended than the violence that resulted from accumulated aggression, often leading to vicious, uncontrollable moments of sadism. To express or channel vengeance constructively and harmlessly, you have to shift from a mindset of personal retribution towards a mindset of general competition. Instead of physically harming the individual that hurt you through an act of savage and consequential retribution, revitalize your vengeance towards an act of superior reconstruction, such as building a stronger physique, becoming more capable and knowledgeable, acquiring more resources and material possessions, mating with more physically appealing and fertile women, and getting more established and recognized in various territories. Rejuvenating your competitive spirit and tendencies through participating or engaging in mutually antagonistic endeavors such as playing single-minded driven competitive sports like boxing is the best way to transmute your vengeful tendencies, as it still involves you trading blows with another individual whose aim is also to harm and injure you. Narcissism involves around us having a dramatically elevated, borderline delusional sense of self-importance, while almost completely abandoning our natural-born gift to empathize and sympathize with other people. Again, we've all done this at various points in our lives, oftentimes unconsciously until we either get called out or everyone started distancing themselves from us. Our obsession and ruthlessness to bring circumstances to the way we want them to be, and our thirst for attention, validation, and appraisal from other people to fulfill our never-ending vessel of self-esteem oftentimes result in our complete neglect of other people's well-being. The most common example is spending our time immersed within our own priorities too much while ignoring or insulting the needs of other people close to us, compelling someone to do our dirty work for us while simultaneously questioning or attacking their moral decisions if they refused, and taking all the credit for someone else's hard work using our superior position and exposure in the social hierarchy, just for the sake of fulfilling our thirst for clout captivation and circumstantial obedience or convenience. We all love social attention and recognition as human beings, and narcissism can stem from a life that is absent or lacking in constructive attention and appraisal to assist in the formation of one's sense of self-esteem, leading to an individual's desperation and yearning to seek for them. But for the most part in today's world, it comes from an overwhelmingly ridiculous amount of complimentary or gratuitous attention and appraisal that causes an individual to develop a new paradigm regarding their own seemingly superior and special existence in this world, which leads to that individual's eventual and utter fragile dependence for those attention and appraisal to have any form of self-esteem, oftentimes going to great lengths, even demonstrating morally or ethically questionable conducts to obtain any form of attention and validation. To help neutralize or maintain narcissism from overcoming your rational and objective perspectives, you have to always maintain a high level of consciousness regarding your own worth for commendableness. Whether you are lacking them or getting showered by them, you have to realistically know when, where, and why you are deserving for attention and praise, thus keeping yourself reasonably in check before you think of humiliating your own reputation and be remembered as a completely deranged individual. If you want to be self-absorbed or egocentric, earn it. Prove that you are someone credible, respectable, and reputable so that your self-centeredness will be overshadowed by the overall positive impact of your deeds. But then again, human beings are selfish creatures, and for the most part, it is only the severity of the consequences that can force them to become aware of their own missteps to reconsider their decisions. There is no escaping these dark qualities of ours, gentlemen. No matter how much you want to reject their existence, they will always eventually break free and demonstrate themselves either in front of you or even in front of other people, both consciously or unconsciously. As I've always said before, human beings are capable of demonstrating sinister conducts, and the high society is telling you to get rid of them because they want to easily control you as submissive puppets due to your lack or absence of selfish attributes that comes from your dark side. Do not think of these dark qualities as quote-unquote evil or bad, as all they want is an adequate amount of expression, just like any other forms of thoughts and emotions. They only turn evil when you try your hardest to disregard their existence and when you let them run free without a leash. Controlling them is only a matter of acknowledging their existence inside of you and finding proper ways or mediums for them to fittingly and appropriately express themselves to satiate their nature. Our dark side hides our true potential because they contain the origin of our deepest desires, thoughts, emotions, perspectives, capabilities, and imposition of will that we often conceal due to the narratively induced fear of being socially rejected and punished if we do express them. You must not be afraid to become aware of their existence as your other half and utilize their nature to serve you in opportunistic and challenging circumstances. Thank you for watching.